So welcome to the monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees of Whiting Library.
That's not money.
Thank you. So we have President, we have Jesse Quest, we have Donna Neal Hutchins, Bill Digby, Glenn Smith, not present, Laura, Marilyn Husky, and Matt. And Gary Wilkie, as our public against employee. So we are now in order. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Can I add, can you talk about the coffee machine?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I know that the policy committee will do a draft of the policy. I don't think it's on the agenda, not in particularly.
It was for us to all discuss.
So,
Right.
so we need to add that to the
Right.
holiday policy.
Right.
Yes.
I guess the agenda got changed, but because there might have been having stuff that I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's all right. We're good. So, Lynn, do you have any additions to the agenda? Are we verbal with them?
She doesn't have her microphone is turned off, but she, I don't know. Is there anything in the chat so when she can sit there? I don't know. Let me check the chat. I don't know. Nothing in the chat. Lynn, do you have anything to add to the agenda?
Okay. Yeah, let's continue and as Lynn might.
Hi, I just figured out how to unmute.
Do you have anything to add?
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Lynn, do you have anything to add to the agenda?
Nope,
You added copy machine and holiday policy as agenda additions, which we'll pick up near the end of the agenda. So we'll move on with minutes from the December 10 board meeting. Donna has sent those out to us for radio. Is there anyone have a chance to review them? Is there a motion to approve them? Seconded by,
second.
we can second it, so the minutes are on the floor. And if there are any discussions? Then we'll vote to adopt them. All in favor of adopting, accepting the minutes, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The minutes of the meeting of December 10, 2024 approved. Treasurer's report. We know that Laura is not in attendance tonight. She's been working hard to do a bunch of things to present her information, and she has given us her treasurer's report. Her treasurer's report included both what she's prepared and the Whiting Library budget that comes from the town. We know that Laura's been working with the town to get a clean budget report that includes those items that are appropriate and necessary and excludes some of the things that was considered in the past. Does anyone have any comment about the treasury report? Maybe I should ask, so we have a motion to accept those treasury's report as presented in written form. Second by moving and seconded to approve the treasury report is submitted by Laura in written form. Any discussion about the treasurer's report?
Laura did that. I didn't look like she gave that. I mean, I got it, I don't know if you guys got, all you got was
Yeah, we didn't get like the balance sheets in the proper one.
Yeah.
Or did we? Oh, did
She
you?
gave it to, you guys.
She said,
I thought you said about 3 documents.
Oh, I have one document from January 12th.
She might have sent it earlier, and that might be why, because the town is going to, tomorrow decide about how much Chester is going to, there's what the meetings, vote on what to provide for us. And so she might have sent those documents, I don't know, if she sent to everybody, or to just
I
us
see.
a while back.
You came again the last week.
I mean, you can look at this one, you can have this one. One thing, we unfortunately, we have no money that we thought we were gonna have. But when I subtract everything from it, it looks to me like we really, we can go and spend some things, and have a revenue, and together, there's really only over, we're left with a surplus of about $23,000, which sounds like a lot, but it's not as much as you would think, because there's a $20,000 grant that needs to be spent, what we got last year that we spent this year. So it's really less than what it might look like.
So if the bottom line suggests a $23,000 surplus, and you're saying, I'm just repeating yourself, but you need to subtract the 20,000.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
surplus at best is around 3,000.
yeah, we never really, we're a little up in that, because, but not much. We never really bought that sign or anything or bought restricted left from that other place in, but. So it's not like we have lots of money to sitting out.
right,
Okay, well, that's good, that's important. So, guys, we might try to something that want to cycle me. If we raise that issue, it's really a plus. Any other matters related to the treasurer's report?
What happened with the CD?
Oh, it's on the report that Laura presented. It is waiting for paperwork to be signed by the town. Like on Laura's, December treasurer's report, she does talk about opening that CD, and she's looking at one of the people at M&T and,
yeah, she forwarded an email that the guy apologized because apparently there was something wrong about the document's signature, and she had sent an email saying, should she be allowed to sign, and I would assume we gave her the wherewithal, approval to do this, and then next thing I saw an email that said that he was apologizing, that they had to redo something, so it had to be signed again.
yeah, and so her emails just outlines what it is. It's a CD for 29,269.61 3.43%, 12 months will be from December 9, 2024. So that'll run through December 9, 2025. So that's in place, and perhaps by the time, as we're now talking about it, it's in the hands of the town clerk, and perhaps maybe already something of it. So I think she's moved on it, and it's looks like successful. It's just about completed. There is no. Any more questions, comments about treasurer's report? And you'll move to approve, accept. It on favor, say aye.
I,
On Paris Way. And accepted the trade. Next item is youth services report. We have a report and Carrie is here. Do we have a motion to accept the youth services report?
So
Seconded by,
yes,
so is there any discussion, Carrie? Do you have anything to say about the youth services report? Is Carrie tuned in?
I'm not sure. Yep. We're coming. You can't hear us. You can't. You need to unmute if you're gonna talk. I can't do it for you.
Carrie, do you have it? We're talking about the youth services report. Do you have,
She's okay. See a hand, I saw the phone. She's okay.
so that's an indication that, just proceed.
Anybody have any questions about it? No.
Just a comment that Lego Club sounds fun.
Yeah, it does.
That's what we need.
Yeah, I've seen, people leave the library with the flyers in their hand, and people have asked for Lego book
That's awesome.
because of the, so, yeah.
Yeah, I think there are ways you can posters.
Have we, Terry and Gail, had any presentation that, John Otto's children's book? Are has he presented that to us? Jonathan Otto, that's the one about, children of the wild, that he just presented, wrote. It came out in November.
Oh, we'll look for that. Did they be lending Vermont?
Usually I'm gonna say self-published through Amazon, but he's been promoting that, and Jonathan Otto has lived in Chester
Oh, wow.
for decades and well known.
It's
It's a children's book.
It is.
Child of the Wild, maybe? Yeah. It's so it's OTTO.
Yeah.
OTT.
Okay. The reason I asked is, John Otto, but it's really not Otto.
So Jonathan actually lives in West, so
Oh,
he's moved there. For summer time purposes and living in Florida,
okay.
but we've known Jonathan for
So in the summertime, we didn't have
a
any.
but he was up here in November when the book first came out, and he's pushing it, raising it, and he's writing it. He got 2 more books.
Mhm.
Whatever librarians do with children's books written by locals, they will do, but certainly they got to be aware of it, if it's something that
For sure.
can happen with it.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be popular.
He would probably be available if you were back there.
Mhm.
So anything further on the input from these services?
Okay.
All in favor of accepting the report, and think us online?
Uh,
Opposed, nay? We've accepted. We move on to the director's report. Yeah,
Well, the only thing I would have to add, other than that, what I said, because I mentioned that, I made, it's not done yet, but you can look at what I was gonna do for 114. The reason I said it's not done because when I printed it off, I noticed I gotta change some of the blocks and stuff, so. To look at that, I think that, I did want to, say, like in my report, I talked about some like kind of numbers and changes. If anybody wants to know like about, the circulation, the physical items of way up. And then part of that is, we spent a lot of effort. We had a lot of extra money for books this year, or grant funds and resources for books, so we had that. And also, I don't think that, in the past, because circulation is really a combination between checkout and renewals, and I don't always think in the past people were renewing things because they were fine. It's a product, it's okay, but now we actually are renewing things, so we know where they are, and I think that's part of the reason that it's gone up. The door count would have been higher, except for a couple of months, which has been work. The reference questions, I think that in the past, and we can do a better job with, I think people did a little more consistent about writing things down. And same thing with the computer use, because those are just a little people marking out their use. But the program, both adult and youth programs way up, and it doesn't say here about meeting rooms. The meeting rooms are a little bit lower than what it's been in the past, but that is partly because I think that the way they did statistics in the past, something could be involved in, like meetings, with being counted. Books. In the night.
Counting twice.
Well, like when, in the, because that was just a marking on a piece of paper.
Oh.
It was at one point, I know, when I first came here, meeting rooms, anytime this thing was being used for any reason, we were marking it down. You really, when you're saying the meeting room statistic, you're talking about outside rooms.
Right, people will call. and
Yeah,
say,
it's not library program, because those are counted on clothing, so
Right.
so I think that that was part of that.
Right.
Why they were inside, but I have, we are getting more meeting rooms, like the homeschooling group, and also now somebody called and wants to do a monthly class program, public program, they're going to do, so we do have more funds. Although the last year they had taxes and they're not, I mean, it's too small, the taxes here, and actually.
So when will this be finished? Will it be finished?
Yeah, I have to be finished. Well, I had to give the stuff to the towns, whether I give them exactly that or since use that information, which we,
So Chris won't be finished for tomorrow, so it
yeah, I could do.
might be nice to bring.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah,
on this last page, 602 youth law, is
oh,
that your?
young adults, I can write that.
Yeah.
Youth and young adults, I can write that down. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Looking at this. Does the library have like a subscription to Adobe Pro?
Well, we have. We do have. I have on my computer. And one computer that's. We have a grant that we got and we're working on getting scan. And so the computer that's going to go, so it's this computer.
Yeah.
This computer is gonna eventually go in the Vermont room to be used with scanners. We can use it for this too, but this one had to go be well.
No, but it's like, at home, I used to have Adobe Pro, now you have to buy an annual
So you come in
subscription.
and use.
So I was like, I wonder if they have it at the library, so then I don't have to buy an annual, so I could create the form at
Mhm.
home and then
You have
come
to,
and edit it here.
you have to use this computer.
Right, but I mean, that would be, I bet you there's a lot of people that might
Yeah.
come and do that.
Mhm.
Because, you know, you don't want to have to, I mean, you used to be able to just buy it.
It's about $17, $18 a month, and you.
Right, and it's like, to me, like when I was working, I used it all the time.
Yeah.
So, but I had bought the program, I tried to see if I could put my license on the new laptop, and it was like, yeah.
That's gonna be in
Or not.
monthly. Is that a substantial enough?
I had a
Yes.
law. That what you need?
I mean,
No,
rather than using just a, regular stand-up computer. Is that how we use with the public to use the laptop?
No, with the table, that what you need?
No, but we use a laptop to use that.
they don't have a big
Well,
workstation, they have a.
next to the, there's, I think there's no reason why it couldn't connect to the, there's a big monitor in that room.
The CPU, that's the CPU right there.
Yes,
Yeah.
So when people actually use it, that's the keyboard.
yeah,
It's-
we could get an external keyboard as well.
I mean, I have that at home, I have a laptop and I have a screen and then I have a separate keyboard.
But it just seems to me when the public is using computers, we want them to use our laptops.
I don't think it matters. In fact, I think what I notice is most people don't know how to use computers anymore. Most people know how to use their phone,
Yeah,
like a tablet,
yeah.
and you tell them to use this, I don't know what to do. But
Is that speaking?
it's like Adobe, you wouldn't be that.
Yeah, it just seems to me that that's what the public is using. And is it sturdy enough for the public use?
Yeah,
I don't have.
if a lot of people came in and used it would.
So I'm not sure how much this would, yeah, I think it will.
But I guess if you promoted,
Yeah,
if you need to, if there's something with the PDF, you can come and do it at the library, because I know that you have other things,
right.
like your gene, your logical. subscriptions yet, like these people about subscription. And that's what I was just thinking the other day when I was trying to read a PDF, which I couldn't do. But,
Well, so we have two of those, that's the question.
yeah,
Well, do have this one Adobe that's on my computer because I use it a lot. Well,
right.
and with that license allowed me to have one other license. And, so I put it on this one thinking, this is, although now we do have an extra one. We have modern version, but we do have another computer. We have some other ones we can use now, like what can you use?
Somebody would probably just bring you their file on a USB and pop it in.
Mhm.
Do it.
Well, yeah.
I think if they know how to do it, that they know how to use it. Like,
Anything more we want to talk about?
We haven't been having any questions?
On,
Can I just interrupt you guys for a second?
Sure.
It's really hard to hear what you guys are saying.
Okay,
It almost sounds like it's all garbled. And I just asked
Is-
Carrie
oh,
if she was
speaker?
having trouble too, and she's having trouble hearing you clearly.
Is it because of the speaker thingy?
might be, you can move it up. I tested it, it seemed okay, but,
is that any better? Does it make a
Yes.
difference?
Yes, that's
Yes,
better.
now?
Yes,
Better.
better. Thank you.
for me really well.
Uh,
All right,
so
we can't talk about you anymore.
so we're ready now to approve the director's report. Is there a motion to approve? Have you already done that?
Ready, please, it was on the floor.
Yeah, we did that.
Okay.
Yeah, now we're on to discussion.
All in favor of accepting the director's report, indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We've accepted it. We'll move on to number 7 on the agenda, fundraising.
Yeah, hooray.
Just-
Everyone should have received the report that was sent last week. There are some checks that we've received that are not in kindful and, aren't included in these, numbers, but this still gives a really good idea of where we landed. I think overall, it went really well, probably a lot better than we expected. I think it's easy to see the 3.1% rate of return and feel like that's super low, but for like a cold letter, essentially to the majority of the people who received it, that's actually really not bad at all.
And the other thing that happened, I know at least one family came in and got library cards after that letter.
That's great.
But they told me, so, I mean, there might have been others, but the birds and.
Yeah. Perfect. And, you know, I pointed out that we also recovered some donors from, or maybe I didn't point it out in the report, we recovered donors from, 2013 and 2014. So
Wow.
that's a really long time for someone to not get a gift, get a letter and feel moved to make a donation. So that's really good
Yeah.
news. Did anybody have any questions? I sent the report so I wouldn't have to talk about it line by line, at this meeting. So I'm happy to just answer questions so we can move along.
We changed first time though. Okay, first time, because I know as I was entering them in,
Yeah.
if they weren't already in kindful, I was writing.
Oh,
They
sorry.
were new, you know, and that's
Yeah.
what I were thanking for that. So,
I didn't bring them downstairs, but
yeah, this got.
I don't know,
I
like
have it.
5 or so Christmas cards came back.
Oh, okay. If you could, I'll take those and put it in kindful that the addresses are bad.
I have them upstairs.
So, do we have a motion to accept the fundraising report?
Motion to
Jesse?
accept.
Second,
Seconded.
any further discussion on fundraising report? All in favor of accepting it, indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So thank you, Jess. Good job. Actually, good job for all the directors. So I think we all pitched in and
Oh, yeah.
kind of had it worked.
And a lot of you donated to Richards.
Hmm.
I mean. It's nice.
Yeah. And thank you, Gail, for donating. I don't know. What's the sent out?
So the next item is potpourri number 8, budget, balance sheet, grants and other income. Do you have anything to say on that, Gail?
Well, I think that there's been a lot of discussion about how to handle the grants. The town, I sent them a question recently and they did not answer that about. I mean, I know that we could get them to do a separate fund for any of these bigger grants. I'm not sure they're going to want to do it for a $300 grant, but they might. But then, because you asked, Bill, you asked me what would be the disadvantage of moving all the grants into separate funds. The other disadvantages of it, that they don't want to do it, that one. The other is then we would have to increase income someplace else for that amount of money. You know, fundraising is probably what you really need to do. Whether you make it or not, because like this year, maybe you fundraising, you made it, but we didn't make donations. We didn't make a projected goal on donations. It all came out at surplus anyway because
Yeah.
of grants.
Right.
So, I mean, whether you get it exactly where you thought, but you gotta have the balance, the budget balance at the beginning. And we would have to either, if you moved all the grants into its all their own funds, you would have to increase income some way or decrease your expenditure some way.
So when you say you get an expense, like when I used to run my department, I had certain things that, like, when the invoices came in, I would write,
Right.
okay, this gets charged back to
Exactly.
this fund.
Mhm.
So that's, if we had a separate fund for grants, if you got books or something that was covered by grants,
That's not the way I'd see it.
okay,
When I say fund, I don't really mean, I mean, it would be a separate budget.
okay,
So like each grant would have their own budget. So it would still be the same line, you know, because those fund numbers that you're talking, those are the same like for the town. Everybody payroll has the same number.
right,
So, but you know, the department number is different.
right,
So, you know, like a grant would, you know, you would decide, can you have to write a budget when you submit the grant? So
right,
you know from the beginning how much are projecting you're gonna spend and everything.
right.
I mean, I think,
So like you could, so if the town, you could have like a grant,
Justin.
well,
what are you looking for?
That's-
If, say there was a budget number, or I mean, a grant fund number, and then each individual, whatever you ordered for a grant would be like, I'm thinking like a department number of service, like I used to write, you know, the purchase services goes to this department, you know, the payroll goes to this department.
well, I mean,
Um,
I'd see it, the way I'd see it is each grant would be sort of like their own department.
okay,
So like we have the operating budget.
Yeah.
And then we would have which it's had one set
right,
prefix. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
And then each grant then would have their own budget. That's the way I would see it. I mean, I don't think you want to lump them all together. I mean, some of them, I guess. I mean,
well, some are targeted to certain things, and then there others might be, hey, you can use this for whatever you want in the library, you know,
I
that's
know.
what I don't know.
Right now, they're all lumped together, and that's.
right now, they are in the operating budget.
It's library
But
revenue.
it just
grant
goes-
slash program.
But it
Right.
just, when that money comes in, it just goes into the to from fund that the town has?
Just like all the other
Yeah.
money. I mean, I think all the money goes into two front. So even if we had separate budget, it would also go into two.
Right. So it's really just a matter of paperwork. It's still in the same bucket, we just have to
Yes.
identify.
You know, it would still be,
How does the town do it?
the town has their budget, their grants are different. Julie told me that their grants are all separate budgets. But
Right.
oftentimes that's because their grants are bigger and they are span multiple years. So like this one grant that we have right now for $20,000 have been better to have added in its own thing, so it doesn't mess it up what we just have this year where, you know, we have surplus because we haven't spent it yet and it's going over next year.
And of course, well, we don't need to go to the town grants,
Yeah.
they're totally different from our grants.
Yes, and I guess they don't really, they'll do what we want, but they don't really want to, like, you make a budget, you don't make changes to the budget. Right, you might make changes to a grant budget, you get them approved, but I mean,
Right.
you still, their budget, they don't want you to make changes, they're trying to find it, make it transparent, and they're thinking about, it would really show how you spend money. So you would be able to, if we had separate budgets for different grants, you could still add everything up and see how much we spent on any one thing. You would just add them up.
But as I look at this so-called balance sheet,
Mhm.
the bottom line, it says library department net income, 31/4, $31,491. Now, that really, we're supposed to come out zero, because we spent all our money,
Well,
but that also includes the $20,000 that we haven't spent. But that 31/4 is for anyone who is to look at this for the first time, they'd say, well, you just made $31,000 last year.
yeah, I think, and they do think that's but when they talk about, to me, when I've been to the select board and they've talked about the money, it's not so much the endowment, the investment money, that part of it, but it's more about that to from account that I think, because they've already paid into that. And if we just take what they pay into and we sock it away, and we keep socking it away, that's where they, I think, get.
Yeah, why do we have
irritated.
to ask for more money?
Because we have that
Right,
money,
right,
they've already
right.
given it, so we have to, I think, we have to spend that in some way, spend it down. Not all of it, but spend some of it down.
Oh, we can't put it into the
You could,
health management account.
yeah, I think you could, because,
If we have money available at the end of I mean, traditionally, it's been, in case there's a shortfall, it's there. But could we say, if there's 10,000, put $10,000 into if there's that much money,
well,
and then if we have a shortfall one year,
yeah,
take
I
it
mean, you
out.
can always take money out of that. You can, it's not like it's not accessible, and, and you do need to keep some money, in that to from,
Right.
because, you might have bills coming in before you have the income in there.
Right.
But you don't need maybe as much as we currently have. I mean, it's a decision to make,
Yeah.
how much you think. I mean, Bill asked last time about when people paid the towns. So like Chester paid last year at the end of April, so probably like after town meeting, when they felt that they could pay, because they didn't wait till taxes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
That clarified that, yeah.
Yeah. Because they have a to from account too.
Right. It's kind of really one big account.
Well, but one of the things though, we could talk about is if that $31,000 holds funds that were already itemized for expenditure, we should find a way to, unexpended grant money waiting to be spent. Or grant money waiting to be, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
just so we can reduce that glaring $31,000 amount of income that is going to cause most people to just glance at this to say, you don't need
You
more
don't need
money.
more money. Yeah.
Well, you don't need it much.
Yeah.
You only need $60,000 instead of.
Yeah.
I mean, but see, but that's why this is important, because they're gonna
Yeah.
look at this tomorrow night.
Yeah, but, I mean, you could, I think you really do, in the long run, you really do want to reduce that to from account so that it's not as high, and how you do that. I mean, you could spend it for carpet, you could spend it for painting the walls. You could one year reduce how much money you have. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with that. But
For sure, but I think we also should, and I know you're saying that
you know, within reason, and we all absolutely would all subscribe to that. But I think for the purpose of displaying money,
Yes, right, and but then that would make displaying money if we reduce that. Then it would show better, it would display better, you know, we would not, if we, it's not on here, it's on that other sheet.
no, I mean, this doesn't include the two fund account. This
I
is
know, it's that other
in
sheet.
and out, yeah, but
And
this,
I think,
this 31,000, though, you know,
you know, to say, besides the extra money for grants, the other thing that happened is we spent a lot of the year with only 2 employees.
Right.
And I didn't anticipate it being that much.
Right, and I mean, that's why in previous years, we kind of saved money because like we didn't have a director for a while. We had a lot of in-between
And
times
that's
where
why
we weren't paying people,
you-
so, yeah,
Accumulated extra money in that
Right,
too front.
right.
But I mean, there's a
Budgeted
lot
for
of
somebody.
things that the library could use some of that for, like
Yeah.
carpeting.
but we don't, if when we go tomorrow night, and I'm planning to go tomorrow night, and they raise that, or if I raise that 31,000, do we have a breakdown of what that includes?
Well,
Can you-
$20,000 in the grants, but you can look at it and you can see there is like $6,500 unspent payroll. But to the, because I thought, that's no way that, I mean, I added, that's the
But
major.
has the final
No, the final,
pay
well, I
period
looked at it,
accounted for?
you guys didn't get that.
Yeah.
But Laura sent a big, long document
Yeah.
that the town sent too. The payroll does go up to 12/31.
Okay,
So this is included up through
It
12,000.
could be still some changes, but.
Yeah,
what
not,
payroll I got.
not significant enough.
Yeah.
In your
Right.
estimation, yeah. So the 31,000 includes 20,000 plus approximately $6,000 in
Payroll,
payroll. And
because we also we underspent the entire budget, $4,162. We overspent $7,960. That was like the budgeted amount, plus we got more extra money for the grants.
maybe just do a cover sheet that points those out. And say, you know, last year's budget, we underspent this much, we overspent this much. It says that we've got $31,000, but that's $20,000 of grant money that has not been spent yet, plus we had, you know,
is there a way we can do that for tomorrow night?
I mean, it's not like set. I mean, does it, everything on the
Say
bottom of that?
something, yeah,
I did put something on the bottom of, we already sent them something and they had to go last.
20,000 current funded for a
Yes.
multi-year grant,
Yeah, I did put something
Okay,
on it.
cool.
restricted
Maybe we
could
donations,
get more.
library. And
no, but I mean, as long
signage.
as that's clarified to them, I think.
Restricted donations, but
Yeah, I didn't really realize at the time I wrote that, I didn't notice the stuff about that was today that it jumped out to me. I thought, then there's something wrong here. Why is it still that much? But then I looked and I saw the payroll because I was only looking at the overspend, you know, they were underspent in payroll.
yeah,
Yeah, because.
Yeah, I was kind of excited about $31,000 surplus.
And we do have that, we do have that.
Yeah.
But 20,000 is for a grant that yeah. But I mean, the town doesn't like it. I mean, they want it to be more on target than that.
Yeah, so if I misinterpreted it, they're gonna misinterpret it.
But a surplus is better than the negative.
Oh, right.
well, yeah, but when we were asking for additional funds, you know,
Right.
it slaps us in the face,
Right,
Right.
so.
Well, I mean, Wilkins could say, like, when we first, I mean, I don't know, it's up to you, but you could just say, when we first went to them, we didn't know there would be this much of a surplus because we don't get this reports I don't get them every month.
right, right.
You know, to really
Yeah, but
see
then the end result of that comment is that, you know, then they'll take a look at our request and they.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that this time, you probably will have money. We could take some of that surplus and put it in the budget next year if they do less.
Yeah.
And that will
Yeah.
bring the to from account down but we are still moving them because next year because we probably are not gonna have this surplus next year.
Right.
So maybe we ought to consider going to them saying, here it is, and look at this, we do have extra money and our request is, we don't need as much money as we're
You
asking.
could.
And that might buy a lot of, a lot more happiness than.
Goodwill.
So I think we need to be prepared to do that.
Yeah.
And,
I think that would make them happy. What they don't, what makes them unhappy is when they see that we have a surplus. And part of that was their money, and it doesn't come back to them.
Yeah.
Like, we should keep the surplus. We don't say, okay, we had a surplus. We don't need enough from you this year.
So-
It just kind of stays there.
so can we analyze what we're asking for? And by saying, you know, we asked you for, and I don't remember what it is, I don't know what it shows here. And say that we want to,
Not there.
we want to,
Well, they reduced it
Reduce
anyway.
that.
My understanding is that they have reduced it. I don't know what, is that what they?
Well, they haven't reduced anything yet, but
We have some-
but the individual, so they could not have.
No, I heard
I know,
that they've reduced it.
To do business, it's
Yeah.
for, cannot do select board business outside of a meeting.
Right.
And I've been reading the minutes.
Yeah.
So they haven't really discussed this. They're going to
Right.
discuss it tomorrow. So individually, people in their own mind probably have said that.
Well, I mean, I know that they have to finalize the budget. That's
Yes.
why they're, because,
but it would be good if we were to just jump in to say, by the way, we just found this surplus.
Right.
So really our request.
it's not as much.
Is not as much, and maybe give them a number.
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, I'm trying to open up my, the budget that we did approve. Yeah, right. It's here. I think we were going to ask for $120,000.
Right.
So we were asking for $20,000 more than, like $19,000 more than what we did last year.
Right.
But you've got to keep in mind that we did also ask for,
Oh,
when we decide this, when you think about this, we asked for 3,000 more from Andover.
yeah. Let's not-
Which, yeah, that's probably not gonna happen.
And the reason we asked for the additional money, as we discussed, and then we told them as well, is that we think it's only fair that the town cover all of our payroll.
Right. So,
So does it make sense to just take the surplus from the payroll of this year and detract it from?
we could, and I mean, I think that what the message they should hear is that this year, because we have the surplus, we can do this, but,
Well, especially
Fill it,
if
fill
like, we haven't gone through the Thursday hour proposal
Yeah.
yet,
but that didn't really, my plan is that doesn't really affect.
but I mean, we
Yeah.
did save money because we did not have as many man hours. We,
Uh-huh.
salary paid. But we may have
Yes,
additional hours next year
I mean,
because if we do the
Right.
Thursday thing, if it's successful.
yeah, I think that we will have, it's, unless somebody else is absent for a period of time, we will probably spend the payroll
Right.
this next year.
Well, we should always anticipate we're gonna spend the full payroll.
Yeah. So I think we should prepare tomorrow night to tell them that to confirm we have a surplus, but differentiate within the $31,000 surplus. $20,000 is still is grant money that is waiting to be spent.
Right.
So we really don't count that as surplus.
Right.
And that we do have whatever the additional amount is, that,
13,000 or whatever.
we can reduce our ask by that amount of money.
Right.
And then, if they want to reduce it further, then they will do what they do, but at least it will be the right gesture to make, I think. When it comes to asking for money.
That's great.
So, can you prepare those numbers?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, good. And just share them with us and
okay.
I'll take it tomorrow night. So. Now, when I say I'm going, you don't have to go.
I don't have to go?
Do you want to go? Do you want to
I
go?
could go, but I don't. I mean,
You don't, yeah, no, I think let's just do it. In and out,
yeah.
so.
Well, I mean, they probably don't want to have, they've already had our presentation.
Right.
But this would be something you would have to say.
It's a clarification.
Yes.
It's not more just a panting at the troughs.
Yeah.
So that's part of the balance sheet, grants and other income.
What's next?
Is there anything else we need to talk about that item on the agenda,
What was it?
number 8, balance sheet, grants and other income. So there being nothing further, Lynn? Nothing further, then we will move on.
I just hope that,
9.
I just hope that this doesn't backfire too. Going to them and being like, oh, well, okay, we'll give you back some money. And then next year, they'll be like, well, they let them do it again.
Well, I guess it's a philosophy that you guys should think about. I mean, don't do it if you don't agree with it, but they feel like they've already get that, it's partially their money.
Right,
Cause I've heard them tell me that.
right.
The other thing too, Lynn, is I want to make sure that they hear that of that 31,000, there's $20,000 in grant money. And don't cut us by 31,000.
Right, right,
You know, we're willing to take a reduced amount,
yeah.
but keep our
10,000.
20,000 in place. So that's as much of the purpose of going and putting our cards on the table as any other reason.
Right.
Anything else?
No.
Days open to the public.
That was, we were gonna
Talk about Thursday.
discuss about
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like my report.
She wrote
that
a
I sent,
Thursday hours
Yeah.
proposal
Yeah,
as we
yeah.
asked for.
Yeah,
And essentially, that would mean to do this without increasing anything. We could do it if, I mean, some days I feel like this past year, when we only had 2 employees, and then there's been a few weeks when some employees have had to take time off and didn't have any leave, so they were gone. So having 2 people, I don't want to do it every day, but only
Right.
having 2 people are such a small library.
It works. Right.
And if you don't have programs, it's 2 people can cover. But, so like if we had 2 people only on Tuesday and on Saturdays when you don't have a program, then I think we could make open for part of the day on Thursday with 2 people.
now that presupposes that our library assistant is going from 16 to 17 and a half hours.
Right, so there would be, but I did really sort of, when I figured out the amount of money for the budget, I included that. So she would have to get a little bit more hours. She would get a few more hours. Which, it's still less than what when Colleen was here because,
Okay,
And our Carrie and Kale, okay with,
well, Carrie, it doesn't affect Carrie. Carrie
oh,
doesn't Carrie's unable to work on Thursdays.
okay,
So that's one reason. I mean, I
Okay.
did offer it to her.
okay,
It would have increased the price a little bit if I
Yeah.
did it that way, but I did.
okay,
And she has other obligations on
Okay.
Thursday, but Kale can do it.
okay. Well, that's good.
So it would be me and Kale on Thursday.
Okay.
so if we were to approve this change in hours, when would it go into effect?
Not before February, probably. You think, I mean,
You have to publicize it.
yeah,
and we-
or you could do it after town meeting day. Maybe.
It's,
Remember, that's a good way to publicize it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's March.
that's March, yeah.
So,
but it's really up to you and your
Yeah.
library.
Yeah,
I mean, you
think
could,
it's- You have a desire
you
to,
could start
You-
next week
you
if we
know.
approve.
You could. Yeah, I think people have, that's not so good because people might have a schedule
And
change like
you can like
that.
make an announcement. It's like, oh, we're gonna be
Yeah.
open on Thursday
Yeah, but
now,
For staff, they might have other plans.
Right, right.
At this point.
It's true.
Gotta figure out how to change the Google hours and.
I know.
but I think because it's your desire to be open, then why wait any longer than necessary
Okay.
to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
I mean, I think that, it's pretty exciting that we could be, next year. Are all of the circulation and that could even be higher because it gives people the opportunity to come in another day. And when I look at I also gave you that, which I think you could use a lot in terms of the personnel, that document from the other libraries, and we are a little under the open hours for library art sites. So I think it would be good.
I love the idea of evening hours for people who are working later and like Saturday
Right.
morning stuff for them.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So with the normal manner of publicity that
Mhm.
we present, then
Okay.
when you're ready, I think we should take a vote.
Sure.
So is there a motion to accept Gail's proposal for extending the hours of the library operation?
So moved.
Oh, yeah. Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further comment?
Maybe the select board will see that we're trying to give the public more access, you know?
Yes?
Yeah, that was Laura's idea. I mean, she thought that would help. It's like.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if we sell it that it's, you know, for the kids being out of school on the breaks, the winter breaks, the spring breaks.
So our publicity will certainly be able to encompass all of that.
Mhm.
All right. Then all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed, nay. We have adopted your proposal.
Okay.
Thank you. Endowment distribution. This is the form that Laura shared with us that had been signed by Deb. And maybe it was only shared with me. It was a form prepared by Wilmington Trust. And it was signed by Deb Aldrich, the town clerk.
Mhm.
In fact, I think there's a little confusion in some prior agenda item. It's that document and not the CD that I think Lynn
Oh,
might have been
that's
alluding to, or somebody was. But that document is the one that suggests that we're going to have 5% of our endowment distributed annually in quarter annual distributions in the middle of each quarter. Now, did everybody get a copy of that document?
I don't think that I have.
So maybe Laura shared it only with me, and
Well, maybe that
was early on.
was thinking, I remember seeing a thing about a DocuSign, but that's when she was just asking if she should just sign it, but I thought it was about the CD. So,
Is that what we're talking about?
No.
We're not.
no, we were gonna take, I think it was 4%.
Yeah, so I thought it was like 4 point something. I mean, you should look back at the minutes, I guess, but
Yeah.
I thought it was 4 points.
Well, that's one of the reasons I wanted, the couple reasons was, it was
Yeah,
a pretty straight, simple statement on the Wilmington Trust document is at 5%, when it was a little bit more complicated and involved than 5%. It was 5% of the value of the
average.
algorithmically
Yeah.
calculated,
Right.
manipulated number over a period of prior months, not 5%, period.
Right, I remember that, and I remember Matt talking about, making sure. Like, should we write, something in policy that says, you know, if the endowment money falls below a certain amount, should we not take it 1 year or something like that? And that was, he and I were talking about that the other day, so, but I know it was because there are some years that you're high and there's some years that you're low, and talking to financial people, it's like, you know, if you took 4 point whatever on 5%, that should be okay.
And 5% wasn't just of the current existing
Right,
fund value.
it was an
determined over a
average.
rolling average.
Right, it was a rolling average, correct.
yeah, so I don't see the document. But I do see that in some emails they sent back and forth, they have been talking, because Laura shared them, but they've been talking about 5%. 5% of the prior year. That's right.
And that's not what we had presented. And that was not what our motion said. Is there any way we can, of course there is,
Yeah,
would we please republish our motion that we approved
yeah, you should probably send that to Laura.
to Laura and she can send it to Remus,
Yeah.
because that's important. And then I don't think it's correctly presented. I know it's not. correct.
Well, I kind of remember it's like they were waiting for the forms from the wealth management group
But,
that spelled out exactly.
but at this point, the forms are gonna say the wrong thing.
They say they think they're.
They think 5%,
Okay.
because that's what's been communicated to them.
That's somehow, and we need to get that motion out, one, so we can just confirm what it says, and two, send it on to them. And get them to
I don't have it on this computer.
republish.
I don't have it on this computer. Oh, maybe I do.
Well, you can
Oh, no,
also
it's in
get
the
it on
cloud.
our website.
It's not, it's in the other cloud. It's not it's in the Google cloud, not the Mac cloud. I have different clouds.
I will dig that document out.
Do you remember which meeting that was? Is that the one, is that what we're trying to
It
figure out
was
right now?
within the last couple of months. I don't-
There-
Yeah, I think, yeah.
You should be able to search. I wasn't able to do that before, but I don't think that retirement, my words were in the,
Well, it was.
but it wasn't in the version that I had. It got added or something, some other point, but, because it wasn't coming up, because you should be able to just search in Google, because
Yeah.
it should all be,
Yeah, well,
Since
yeah.
you're on
I'll
there,
give
you should be able to get 'em.
You can look for it.
um,
I found Matt made a motion, Laura seconded to take 4% for the 2025 budget as income, not to any particular item. Then second, like I found this in November meeting.
Yeah.
minutes.
Take 4% of the funds and 4 quarterly payments starting in the middle of each quarter.
Yes,
We
I don't
had
know
the
how it got to
dates.
5% from 4%.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
Says
know either,
4%.
but in the email that, they have been sharing with Laura, because some of them she shared with me and Donna,
Maybe
and,
copy those,
it does say 5%.
send that to Laura and say this is from the November.
Yeah.
Minutes.
Laura wanted to know if she should sign that document, and I've not responded, because here we are talking about it.
Yeah, it shouldn't sign it yet.
She
If you
should.
want 4%, you need to wait.
So we don't want to sign
Does
that.
she check her Whiting library? Is it just her?
Sorry?
Does she check her Whiting library? Or is it just her Yahoo?
Yeah, I think it goes to her.
Her what?
email.
I
She doesn't have to
actually.
check. She
I
has
do
it, she
both.
has it so that
I do.
they
Yeah.
combine, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm good. Well, that's positive. There's since we got a good grasp on what we're doing,
Right.
and it's not letting that slip through, not that it was slipped through anyway. But I'm sorry that it wasn't shared with everybody in that document, and I'll share it with you all, so you can see it. Because I thought of what it was and what Matt would have raised in a large response.
Yeah.
because
Right.
He was pretty much very vocal on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the endowment distribution issue that you were talking about. Anything else about endowment? And one of the things that, before we go into our executive session, as we are now leaving item 10, endowment distribution, we need to take a look at the additions to our agenda.
Yeah, we probably want to do that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So let's talk about the coffee machine.
Okay, I do have the, my fund means nothing to anybody, but, here's basically, we could get a copier from the people that we currently have them. It would be like an updated model of what we have, that's kind of like a workhorse that's done really well. It's lasted many years without really anything. And, but the things we'd have, we could buy a used one for about $1,200. We could buy a new one for about $2,500. but the thing that we have to really decide is, do we want to buy it? Which one we have to decide, buy it or lease it?
And the lease includes servicing it?
Oh, no, the lease on a copy machine does not. Like right now, we own the copy machine that we have now because I think it's not the one that's broken. The one that's working, we own it. For many years, there was a lease. Eventually, we owned it because we leased it for so many years. I mean, we've had it for 7 years. And and there is a service charge for that, that's $300
month.
no year.
Good.
And that's the minimum. So the service charge would be, 'cause it's based on how many copies you do.
Right.
Too, so, they can't tell us what the service charge really would be, but it could be at least $300. And, cause that's their minimum. And that includes like supplies,
Oh, leasing includes supplies?
not leasing, but the service charge.
service charge.
So like when I needed,
It's done.
yeah, it's when I needed toner for the copy machine that we currently have, that we own, that we have the service contract for, they sent it to us. We didn't buy it.
So what's what's better, buying it or
Well,
if we still have to pay for service?
yeah, we would have to do that
And or if
regardless.
you're leasing it, if it starts to not working, you could say, hey, replace it.
Yeah, and
We
also
don't
like,
own it.
the other thing is, this company's in Charlestown.
Yeah.
The owner was in Saxon's River. So he came here one day and spent like a day with us when we had the problem. But the other day I happened to be going through Charlestown, I stopped and talked to them. And he spent some time with me again, and a lot of businesses would lease, because then they don't have to do what we don't have to do, like when they claim on your taxes, the value, all that kind of thing, we don't have that. So the other advantage for us for leasing, if we wanted to, is if after a while we decided this wasn't a copy machine for us, we really wanted one that did 11x17 or something
right.
else, we wouldn't have to buy, we wouldn't be stuck with it. That's probably the only advantage really for us in terms of not buying it.
The disadvantage to owning it is that you own it and, in 5 to 7 years, if you want to get rid of it, nobody wants
Right.
it. It has no value. But the benefit of leasing it
That's,
is that at the end of the 4-year term, and you're paying them monthly as opposed to, and
Right.
if you buy it, you can pay them monthly too. There's not a whole lot of difference
Yeah.
in the monthly payments, whether you buy or lease.
yeah,
At the end of the lease, you give them $1 and it's yours if you want it, or you turn it back and you
Just
can
keep leasing
come
it
up with a
new
newer,
machine, yeah.
but
up-to-date model.
in our case, we probably, if we bought it, we probably would buy it. $2,500, we probably would buy it. Yeah, dirty monthly payments. So, but we still would, like what you said, like if we decided it wasn't good enough for us, we didn't really like that one. We wanted to upgrade it to a new model, we would own it. I mean, in some ways, I don't think owning it is bad, because, I mean, the copier that we have now, it is just a black, but it's worked for 7 years. And
And maybe for the small library, that's fine. The other thing too is if you own it and you want to get rid of it, the people who give you the new one, you buy or lease, they'll haul it off.
yeah,
Yeah, so you
right,
don't have to, and people say, well, let's sell it. We'll make $100 if we sell it to our neighbor.
yeah, I don't think so.
And no, we're not gonna do
So the other thing is like this copy machine will make more money each time you do a copy than the other one we have, but that's why you need the service contract. Some of the parts in it would be more expensive. This one you can't even fix, that's the one that's broken, those parts aren't even replaceable, but anyway, so we have to tell them, lease it or buy it. So,
I think leasing gives us more options.
Yeah,
okay, I'll let them
so
know,
lease it, yeah.
okay,
Does he give you, if we bought it, it'd be a straight $2,500 payment.
yeah.
If we lease it, what does it cost?
Well, he doesn't, not sure, but he thought about $60 a month.
28 for,
He didn't tell me how many long.
So divide 60 into 2,500 on this. I don't know, it's not fair, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, how would you have them printed out, you know, give you a written proposal of
I'll do
purchase
that.
versus leasing, and
Okay.
here's what it's gonna cost us a month,
Okay.
and cause you have to figure the budget for the year. You know, whatever it's gonna be, but I mean, like you said, you can charge more if people make color copies.
Yes, and then that, you're right, we'll know, they'll fix it up so that. You know, when you select your printer, you tell it
Yeah,
color,
right.
and it's gonna go to the right one.
right,
Even though it's one printer, it will be like, they'll have like two separate drivers on it, I think, so that.
Right.
You go to the one and it will, if you accidentally printed it to color, gonna print in color, you're gonna pay. If it does, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
So this does what you were talking about, we were talking about earlier, copying, scanning and faxing.
yes, then the other thing that it will do that this current one we have doesn't do is, the old one did, it will do like Wi-Fi printing. Right,
Oh, really?
this one,
There's two
that's
separate-
besides the fact that the one we have now doesn't do color. The other thing that it doesn't do that people come in all the time to do is print from their phone and stuff. It's. And it has to be, right now, it has to be in the, you know, the Vermont, not whatever the room is, the room that had the magazines and the fireplace.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
it has to be in there, yeah, Susie Forley room, it has to be in there because of that's where the Ethernet is.
So so will this allow people to print from their
Yes, the
phones?
new one, yes, the new one will, you know, it's more soft, they could upgrade, they could really upgrade that one. But it's not worth doing that if we're not keeping it, you know,
it prints two sides.
yeah,
That's my favorite thing in my new printer. It's like, well, that's often to purchase.
So we have two printers right now.
but one doesn't work,
So we
Only
had,
one.
get rid of that one,
so maybe part of the deal is,
maybe.
if we're gonna upgrade, you gotta take and throw away both printers. That's,
Oh, we might, honestly, we might wanna keep the
I would say
one,
keep it small.
one, well, it won't be smaller, it won't be, the other one, we might wanna keep, we could, and then get rid of that service charge, but. It would be nice. To not have to print it, like labels and things like that. In the public computer,
Oh, so it would be like just for the librarians to use, the
so
staff,
there's
staff.
there's a use for it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, there is a use, because, I mean, right now, previously, we did not have. A real staff computer. You had the copy machine, which now is being used as a printer as well. That's the one that works, and then we had the printer copy machine behind the desk that did color, where we did not have just a staff, oh my god.
so this is copying, screening and faxing.
Yeah, so I mean, that would do everything that we need, but it would not give us a staff.
Not a
only one.
printer. Does it say it's a printer?
Yeah, it's a printer, because it prints, it's a duplex print speed. I mean, it also, it does the,
Multiple function.
it prints from your phone, mobile printing. I mean, it does, it's a print.
So this is what you need, and we just need you need a breakdown of, like, the
Yes.
cost over the
Yeah,
term of the
and
lease.
then now,
Right, right.
now that I know that we're thinking about leasing, then I'll tell him to, I mean, I'll have him give it,
What is the status of our printers otherwise? Is this the only printer for Carrie, you?
right now, and we have one printer. And it only does black and white, it can sometimes do, double-sided, and, it does not print from devices that people bring in
Okay, so that's,
right now.
so would you print this on?
I did that at Staples.
That happens. But if you could do this on the new printer, I don't know.
But I went to Staples yesterday or something, so I did sit in there.
Well, you could do that on this new printer that.
Well, not 11/17.
That would.
Well, you could do it at-
Yes, yeah. That would be more money.
How much?
I don't know. I can ask him. for
Yeah,
that.
Adam, having, because that's something that's,
I mean, we don't wanna buy yesterday's printer.
Yeah,
today. If it's something that has features that are beneficial and are sets 11 by 17, then let's,
I don't know how many people come in asking for that, but a staff member, like, we would use
You
it.
probably would use it, yeah.
Yeah,
Then
I'm
why
not trying
not?
to spend more money, but I just,
Yeah,
this is the chance we.
yeah, if it's only $5 more a month, then you might as well do
oh yeah,
it.
that's the
you
thing
know?
about leasing, yeah. It might be,
Yeah,
more money, but if you're leasing, yeah, that's the thing about leasing.
So where do the staff computers print to?
Right now, before they printed the one that broken behind the desk, but that's also where public printed. That's where everyone printed. And even Larry would say that's was not a good practice. But that's what the only thing we had.
yeah,
Because we hadn't gotten, like right now, we are printing to what we used to only use as a copy machine. But because we moved it into the back into the Susie Forley room, it's connected to the internet, and the internet, so people can send their print jobs to it.
So the staff prints to the computer.
We
and the
were, yes,
But where do they print now?
to the same one, but we've always done that. As far as I know,
Is that satisfactory?
well, it'd be
Well,
nice.
I mean, I think if you keep this one for the staff to use and then get the new one for the public to use.
Before I came previously, I know that I've read reports, they had a lot of desktop printers, with the inkjet kind of
Yeah,
printers.
yeah.
And nobody was very happy with those because they didn't necessarily use them enough to keep the ink flowing. And it's more expensive too, so I think they decided to get rid of all the desktop printers and just have the bigger ones, but that meant there wasn't a dedicated staff one. And especially when you print labels, because you've got to change the paper and somebody else can print at the same time that you're printing.
Yeah.
Well, if we were to do something like this, with 11/17, if that's what we decide, you decide. Are we going to end up with printer for staff that they will be happy with?
Yeah, I mean, I'll ask the staff, but I would think that staff would be happy with you would still if we had a dedicated one, I think to me, if it was just a black and white one, would be sufficient. We still do the PR and those kind of things on color, but you're not printing labels and you're not printing anything that you don't want the public to see, because you could get your jobs mixed up.
Yeah.
Like if you were printing
Right.
something that was more confidential, like overdue notices or something like that, but those are.
Where I used to work, there was 2 printers and one was for everybody to use and one was just for confidential stuff.
Yeah,
Because I think we need to make sure we
Yeah.
have the staff room printer that's available and that does what staff needs.
well,
Right.
I'll ask, but my feeling is I think it would be if we kept the one that we have now and made that a staff only one, the one that's working. That should be
Yeah.
sufficient, but I'll ask.
Okay.
So that's printer. Anything further?
No.
So let's talk about the next item on the agenda, which is the draft of the holiday policy. So Donna, you and Matt and Marilyn drafted
Right,
a document
and and Marilyn sent it
to everybody.
to everybody. And we wanted to bring this, we basically wanted to say, bring it up today so you can stay open the Tuesday after Martin Luther King Day. If you want to, is next week, so, but if you've already advertised that you're gonna be closed,
Yeah, and staff may already have plans.
Yeah, yeah.
At this point.
so.
I also, my concern with adopting something like this right now is that, I mean, I know that staff can change and their opinions can change, but I would be interested if it'd be possible for us to get feedback from the people who would be affected by this, like you and Carrie and Kale, before we enact another policy that affects them and then like doesn't, you know what I mean? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
So the way I read this, and I might have read it wrong, it makes it sound like Monday holidays, we don't get a holiday.
Correct.
I think staff, my sense is staff will feel that as taking whether you intended that to be a benefit or not, they've enjoyed that benefit. So if you take that away to replace it with something.
Well, they, Carol and Matt and I talked a lot about that. This is what the number 3 for holidays that fall on a day the library is not regularly scheduled to open, staff shall not receive holiday pay. That is what was in the original
Yes, I know.
policy. And somebody somewhere started to, oh, well, we'll give you the hours
I know.
as paid time off, or we'll do this, and we talked about, do we just give them the pay for the week?
Yeah.
And this is what we decided to
Yeah.
go back to what the original intent was, is the library is closed on these holidays. But if
Yeah.
if it's already closed on one of those days. Basically, the
that.
feeling was, is why should we pay you for a day that you're already off?
Yeah, I get that, but
Oh, and
whether or not it was intended to have been a
Right.
benefit, it is a benefit that staff have enjoyed for a number of years.
Right.
I think that putting myself in the shoes of a staff member, I would look at the calendar and say, okay, so this 4th of July, I'm working less days for the same pay. But next year, because 4th of July falls on a day we're closed, I'm working more days for the same pay. Like, I just, no, I mean, I guess you're not, yeah,
yeah, you're just not getting,
yeah,
right now, or they were being paid time that they weren't working, and
Right.
it was not a work day. In other words, there's so many work days a year,
yeah.
and that could be more of a discussion, but,
Yeah.
get input from how they feel, but this was, Marilyn and I talked about this.
In my report.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is sort of off the real, kind of out of the box thinking.
Yeah.
But I thought because if you just got, we don't even have to give holidays in Vermont. If you
Right.
didn't give any holiday, but you increased the leave by the amount of days for everybody, regardless of whether, and that seemed like that might be the fairest way, because somebody's schedule, it's arbitrary. I mean, like, say somebody was hired to work, let's say if we're gonna be open on Thursdays. Somebody has a day that that's their schedule is not ever on a holiday, because they only work on Wednesday and holidays don't come on Wednesday, or something, I don't know.
No, but it's like, say Juneteenth, I think this year is on a Thursday. So this year you would not work, but you get paid for it.
Yeah, but if you could still give that benefit. I mean, say like, Sunday holiday.
But it's still, and I could see the way that the others were thinking, is like, it's not a day you usually work, so why should you get paid for it?
Yeah, I understand, but if everybody got the same, I understand, but then that wouldn't be fair if it was a day. Yeah, we want to treat people fairly,
Right,
regardless of what days they work.
right, but everybody works, Mondays are always off. And unfortunately, 5 holidays
Yeah.
fall on Mondays.
Yeah.
But it's like, so why should the library incur the cost of paying people on days that they're not normally working?
And let's just consider that a benefit. It's a benefit. I mean,
Right, but
why, it's like an additional,
so however many hours, total hours. Times. Whatever the pay is, times 5 days. So. And the other thing that was discussed was, just. Add that day, add that day. It's like, oh, well, we're gonna pay you for that day in your regular paycheck, even though you don't normally work that day. So.
I don't know.
But we won't do the Tuesday thing anymore.
You say we won't.
That's
That's
I
what
mean-
this says.
That's
It
what
will
this
just,
is, yeah. This is a draft proposal.
This is a draft, right? In other words, you'll just,
okay.
you won't, before, this is a draft proposal that we will be closed or was closed on 11 days. And one of they fall on a day that
Okay,
it's
I have,
employees paid.
it really, and this is fine for now, whatever, for that number one. But I would think, just because you give somebody a holiday, and it's gonna be a holiday, it could be a day you decide you wanna be open. Say, like, I would imagine Juneteenth, probably a lot of libraries are open on Juneteenth. People still get holiday. And,
Veterans Day is the only one that I know that occasionally, sometimes I would have it off and sometimes I wouldn't have it.
Well, schools are open on Veterans Day.
so,
I know it's Columbus Day. Yeah, yes.
no, it depends on the school.
They-
Well, yeah, I remember that when I was at the SU, it was like Ludlow had Veterans Days off.
Yeah,
Green Mountain worked, it was open and it was a big
Yeah, yeah,
bubble.
but
as to like,
generally,
who's doing
everybody's
what.
open on Veterans Day.
Yeah. Yeah, like Columbus Day, I remember when I was working, it was like.
yeah, it
sometimes,
depends.
You know,
But-
they didn't.
But anyway. So in a way, saying the dates, what I'm just saying is the dates that you close, it's not really part of this. Really, and they would not necessarily even be together. Your closed days are just dates that you decide you want to be closed, and then you need a separate policy for. They don't, you've addressed them separately, which is good, 1, 2, and 3. But in the end, they may not necessarily be next to each other in the policy
Holidays
that
that
you
fall
put them in.
on a day, the library is not regularly scheduled to open, so if a holiday is on a Sunday. Monday or Thursday, right now,
But
then
they,
you wouldn't get paid for
but
it.
they don't do it that way. If you got,
Who's they?
the federal government, but you don't say that, but they're the ones who determine that Juneteenth is a holiday.
Right, well, this doesn't say federal
I
holidays, it
know
just
that,
says
but
11
that's,
days.
I know that, but,
These are
but
federal
they-
holidays,
on Sundays, they take it on Monday. Or if it's a Friday, it's Saturday, they take it on Friday. That's why we got in trouble with Veterans Day one year, because, it does make sense.
Well, it's 4th of July and Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, New Year's Day. Kind of float in the
Yes,
Juneteenth.
and if if the holiday,
It's the Monday holidays,
if it's a Sunday holiday, it's a Monday. If it's a Saturday holiday, it's a Friday.
right? That's some places.
I have a
I've been
question.
places where I haven't had that
Never
either.
know.
I have a question about the wording on number 2. It says regularly paid for work on a workday Monday through Friday, but we have Saturday hours. And Saturday
Correct,
holidays.
no, but
like
that's
July
if
4th.
they get if the holiday,
Yeah, that's
because the Monday through Friday is they're more hours.
but
Okay, so,
Yeah, so like they work 10 to 6.
so they would get the 10 to
Versus-
6 hours even though we're open 10 to 2.
no, it needs to
No,
say
that's
Saturday.
So,
No, but if the holiday is during the week,
Huh?
then you're gonna get paid the number of hours that you would work Monday through Friday.
I
But
understand
you,
that. I'm saying
yeah.
if the 4th of July falls on a Saturday, how much money do they get? Because
They would still
the
get,
building would be
they would
closed.
still, the way this reads is you would still get the.
then that's why it
Monday
should
through
say
Friday.
that, because.
But Monday through Friday doesn't include Saturday, but that's not confusion.
It should probably say Saturday, because everybody has a certain amount of hours they normally would work on Saturday. That makes it sound like. But you.
I don't remember
holidays
why,
are
Mary.
Monday through Friday.
That's
She copied
easy,
it.
so that's easy, it could be.
It's a full day's work
But it's,
versus
but it's,
half a day.
Yeah.
workday Monday through Friday, I think you just said multiple times, that's a week, it's a
Yeah.
work week.
It's a full, it's a full day's pay versus a half day.
So-
pay.
But how much everybody works on a day is different, like Kale does work 10 to 6. So she would not ever get that full day.
Right.
You get
That's
the
what it
amount,
says,
right,
number of hours of staff members
Right.
regular day,
so that's why I need to say Monday to Saturday.
on a workday. Monday
On a
through
work day,
Friday.
just leave that off.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Let's not specify it, just leave that part off, on a work day.
So shall we schedule this for next meeting?
Will it be possible for you to get feedback from Kale and Carrie about,
Mhm.
and your feedback too, obviously? You get to give it here, but.
Okay. Anything else on this? Glenn? All right. So let us now we've come to executive session. Personnel director's evaluation.
Did we get everything from other people?
I only got two,
I-
three.
Oh, I brought
I brought mine in person, but
Yeah,
I didn't know if we
You
had
have your, yeah, but
reports
I
from
don't have
Laura
two of them.
Marilyn.
I don't have,
Yeah.
no, I have Laura's. She sent it to
Yeah.
me, but I don't have two of them.
So let us go into executive session if we want to,
Okay,
move to do that. And when we do that,
to move to go into executive session to
discuss
Discuss
personnel matters
personnel matters
relating to the
relating to
evaluation of the director.
directors.
Okay, so I'll pause this and then I'll.
So we need a motion to go. Who's gonna make that?
Oh,
motion?
maybe.
I'll wait for that.
So moved.
Second by-
Second,
we-
Second,
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Okay.
Nay. Opposed? We're now in executive session. And we will close the meeting to the public.
well, to recording,
Yeah,
we have to keep.
but
Wait a-
wait a minute. Like, I don't know whether you are, but
So we're now out of executive session. Do we want to, are there any more comments? Is it any public comment? Will we entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded by,
second.
Lynn.
all in favor, say aye.
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 So our next meeting is, whatever it is,
February.
February it is. And Gail, we will be setting up a time in the next 2 weeks to sit down and talk to you. We being Donna and I,
February 11th,
February 11th. Okay,
and then I'll give you information tomorrow.
yes,
about-
yes, and I will carry that to the select board.
Yeah, and if you come by tomorrow sometime, I can give you another copy of that thing to hand out.
Yes, yeah, and you gotta just, why? That's mine.
Yeah, good idea.
So.
Good night, all.
We're not.
Night.
not-
Night, Lynn.
Thank you.
Stay warm.
I know.
Are we off? Is that turned off?
Wait a minute, I will be in a minute, since I. And Molly